Police car lights stop. Before you spend another Washington quarter, give me just 30 seconds. One of the 3 Washington quarters you're about to see could be worth much more than 25 cents if it has the right date, mint mark, exceptional condition, or a genuine mint error. Every day, people spend these coins without realizing what they have. Stay until the very end because the last Washington quarter is the one almost everyone overlooks, and it might surprise you. Let's start with the 1987 D Washington quarter and find out what makes collectors pay attention to it. The 1987 D Washington quarter is one of those coins that millions of Americans have handled without ever giving it a second thought. It may have passed through a cash register, been dropped into a vending machine, or sat forgotten in an old coin jar for years. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but collectors know that every coin has a story, and sometimes the smallest details can make all the difference. While most circulated 1987 D Washington quarters are worth only their face value, exceptional uncirculated examples, certified high-grade coins, and genuine mint-era varieties can attract significant collector interest. That is why experienced collectors never judge a coin by its appearance alone. They examine the date, mint mark, strike quality, luster, and preservation before deciding whether it deserves a place in their collection. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The obverse features Washington's portrait, designed by John Flanagan, while the reverse displays the iconic American eagle that remained on the coin until the state quarters program began decades later. By the time the 1987 D issue was produced, the Washington Quarter had already become one of the most recognized and widely used coins in the country. It represented not only everyday commerce, but also a lasting tribute to one of America's most influential historical figures. The small D mint mark beside the date identifies this coin as having been struck at the Denver Mint. During 1987, millions of quarters were produced for circulation and quickly entered banks, stores, restaurants, schools, and businesses across the United States. Because they were made for everyday use, most examples spent years in circulation, collecting scratches, contact marks, worn edges, and dull surfaces. As a result, finding an example that has remained in outstanding original condition is much more difficult than many people expect. Condition is one of the most important factors in modern coin collecting. A heavily circulated 1987 D Washington quarter may show flattened hair details on Washington, reduced luster, and numerous marks from decades of use. In contrast, a coin preserved in a mint set or carefully stored from the day it was issued may still display brilliant mint luster, sharp design details, and clean surfaces. Collectors especially appreciate coins with strong eye appeal because they represent how the coin originally appeared when it left the United States Mint. Professional grading services evaluate coins using internationally recognized grading standards. Every coin is carefully examined for preservation, strike quality, originality, luster, and eye appeal before receiving a numerical grade. Even a small improvement in grade can greatly influence collector demand. Registry collectors often search for the finest surviving 1987 D Washington quarters because nearly flawless examples become increasingly scarce over time. A coin that appears ordinary at first glance may become highly desirable simply because it has survived in exceptional condition. Another exciting part of collecting involves searching for genuine mint-made errors. Although the United States Mint maintains strict quality control procedures, occasional production mistakes still occurred. Authentic mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, broad strikes, and other legitimate varieties remain fascinating because they capture unusual moments during the minting process. These mint-made errors are very different from scratches, dents, corrosion, environmental damage, or polishing that happened after the coin entered circulation. Collectors place value on genuine manufacturing errors, not on damage caused by everyday use. Many collectors also pay close attention to original surfaces. It is common for beginners to believe that polishing or cleaning an old coin will improve its appearance and value. In reality, cleaning usually removes the original mint surface, creates fine hairline scratches, and permanently changes the coin's natural appearance. Original mint luster and untouched surfaces are generally much more desirable because they preserve the authenticity and history of the coin. An uncleaned coin with honest age is often preferred over one that has been polished to look shiny. The 1987 D Washington quarter also reminds collectors that modern coins deserve attention. Because many people assume newer coins cannot be collectible, outstanding examples are sometimes overlooked or mishandled. Yet history has shown that coins preserved in exceptional condition often become more difficult to locate as the years pass. Every year that goes by reduces the number of pristine examples still available, making careful preservation increasingly important for collectors who enjoy building high-quality sets. Successful coin collecting is not about believing unrealistic stories or expecting every coin to be worth a fortune. It is about understanding history, learning how coins were made, recognizing genuine mint-made varieties, and appreciating outstanding preservation. Most 1987 D Washington quarters remain ordinary circulation coins, but exceptional certified examples, top-grade survivors, and genuine mint-era pieces continue to receive the strongest collector attention. Knowledge is the most valuable tool any collector can have. The 1987 D Washington quarter is much more than a piece of pocket change. It represents American history, skilled craftsmanship, and the excitement of discovering something special through careful observation. Whether you find one in an inherited collection, an old coin album, a bankroll, or a forgotten jar of change, take a closer look before spending it. You may not discover a fortune every time, but you will gain a greater appreciation for the stories hidden inside America's everyday coins. And that is what makes coin collecting such a rewarding hobby. The coin number 2. The 1997 P Washington quarter is one of those coins that countless Americans have carried in their pockets without realizing it could become an important collectible under the right circumstances. It may have been handed to you as change at a grocery store, forgotten in an old coin jar, or tucked away in a family collection for years. To most people, it is simply 25 cents, but to experienced collectors, it represents the closing chapter of a remarkable era in American coinage. While the majority of circulated 1997 P Washington quarters are worth only face value, exceptional uncirculated examples, certified high-grade survivors, and genuine mint-era coins continue to attract strong collector interest because outstanding examples become increasingly difficult to find over time. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features Washington's portrait on the obverse and the majestic American eagle on the reverse. For decades, this design remained one of the most familiar coins in American circulation, appearing in cash registers, vending machines, banks, and households across the nation. The 1997 P issue is especially interesting because it represents one of the final regular Washington quarters produced before the famous state quarters program began in 1999, making it an important transitional piece in modern U.S. coin history. The small P mint mark beside Washington's portrait indicates that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Earlier Philadelphia quarters often carried no mint mark, but by 1997, the P had become a standard feature. Millions of these quarters entered circulation shortly after they were struck, passing through businesses, restaurants, schools, gas stations, and countless everyday transactions. Because they were intended for heavy circulation, many examples quickly developed scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces from years of use. Condition is one of the most important factors collectors consider when evaluating any modern Washington quarter. A heavily circulated coin usually shows flattened design details, reduced mint luster, contact marks, and edge wear. A coin that remained protected inside a mint set or private collection may still display brilliant original luster, sharply struck details, and attractive eye appeal. These well-preserved examples are significantly more desirable because they reveal the coin exactly as it appeared when it first left the United States Mint. Professional grading services evaluate coins using internationally recognized grading standards. Every coin is carefully examined for preservation, strike quality, originality, luster, and eye appeal before receiving a numerical grade. Even a slight improvement in grade can greatly influence collector demand. Registry collectors actively compete for the highest quality certified examples because nearly flawless 1997 P Washington quarters become increasingly scarce as time passes. Every tiny mark and every detail contributes to the final assessment. Another exciting part of collecting involves searching for genuine mint-made errors. Although the United States Mint maintained excellent quality control procedures, occasional manufacturing mistakes still occurred. Authentic mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, broad strikes, and other legitimate varieties continue to fascinate collectors because they represent unusual moments during production. These genuine mint errors should never be confused with scratches, dents, corrosion, environmental damage, or polishing that occurred after the coin entered circulation, as post-mint damage generally reduces collector appeal. Many beginning collectors believe that polishing an old coin makes it more valuable. experienced numismatists generally recommend leaving coins exactly as they are found. Cleaning removes the original mint surface, creates fine scratches, and permanently changes the appearance of the coin. Original luster and untouched surfaces are almost always preferred because they preserve authenticity and historical character. A naturally preserved coin often receives greater collector appreciation than one that has been cleaned. The year 1997 is especially meaningful because it came just before one of the biggest changes in modern American coinage. Beginning in 1999, the reverse design of the Washington quarter changed to feature individual U.S. states as part of the highly successful state quarters program. As a result, the 1997 P issue represents one of the last standard eagle reverse Washington quarters before the series entered a completely new era. This historical position gives the coin additional interest among collectors assembling complete Washington quarter sets. Successful coin collecting is built on patience, observation, knowledge, and careful preservation rather than unrealistic expectations. Most 1997 P Washington quarters remain ordinary circulation coins, but exceptional certified high-grade examples and genuine mint-era pieces continue to attract the strongest collector attention. Understanding how to recognize these qualities is far more valuable than believing exaggerated stories about every coin being worth a fortune. The 1997 P Washington quarter proves that even an everyday coin can carry an important place in American history. Whether discovered in an inherited collection, an old album, a bankroll, or a forgotten jar of change, it deserves a careful look before being spent. Every surviving example tells part of the story of American coinage and reminds us that history often survives in the smallest objects we use every day. That enduring connection between history and collecting is what makes the Washington quarter one of the most loved coins in the United States, the coin number 3. The 1967 Washington quarter is one of the most intriguing coins in modern American history because it was produced during a time of enormous change in the United States Mint. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary 25-cent coin that has spent decades passing through pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. Yet collectors know that the year 1967 represents a unique period when the mint was working around the clock to meet an incredible demand for circulating coins. While most circulated 1967 Washington quarters are worth only face value, outstanding uncirculated examples, certified high-grade coins, and genuine mint-era varieties continue to attract serious collector interest. The real excitement comes from understanding why this particular year remains so important to numismatists and how careful examination can reveal details that many people overlook. The Washington quarter first appeared in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features Washington's portrait on the front and the iconic American eagle on the reverse. For generations, this design became one of the most familiar coins in American commerce. Every day, millions of Washington quarters moved through stores, banks, schools, restaurants, and businesses, becoming an essential part of daily life while quietly preserving an important piece of American history. The year 1967 was especially unusual because the United States was experiencing a nationwide coin shortage. To increase production and discourage people from collecting newly minted coins, the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all circulating coins between 1965 and 1967. As a result, every genuine 1967 Washington quarter was struck without a mint mark, regardless of which mint facility produced it. This unusual decision makes the 1967 issue immediately recognizable and gives it a unique place in the history of American coinage. Another important change had taken place only a short time earlier. Beginning in 1965, Washington quarters were no longer struck in 90% silver for regular circulation. Instead, they were produced using a copper-nickel clad composition, allowing precious silver to be reserved as silver prices continued to rise. The 1967 Washington quarter, therefore, belongs to the early years of the modern clad era, representing a significant turning point in the evolution of United States coinage. Every surviving example reflects this important transition from traditional silver coinage to the clad coins Americans continue using today. Although millions of 1967 Washington quarters were produced, condition remains the single most important factor influencing collector demand. Most examples spent decades in circulation and naturally developed scratches, contact marks, worn details, and dull surfaces. Coins that remain protected in mint sets or private collections often preserve brilliant original luster, sharply struck details, and excellent eye appeal. These well-preserved examples are much more desirable because they show collectors exactly how the coin appeared when it first left the mint. Professional grading services carefully evaluate every coin before assigning a numerical grade based on preservation, strike quality, originality, luster, and overall eye appeal. Even a small improvement in grade can significantly increase collector demand. Registry set collectors actively search for nearly flawless certified examples because top-grade 1967 Washington quarters become increasingly difficult to locate after decades of circulation. Every tiny contact mark and every trace of original brilliance contributes to the final grade. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting the 1967 Washington quarter involves searching for genuine mint-made errors. Although the mint maintained strict quality control standards, occasional production mistakes still occurred. Authentic mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, broad strikes, and other legitimate varieties continue to fascinate collectors because they capture unusual moments during the manufacturing process. These mint-made errors should never be confused with scratches, dents, corrosion, polishing, or environmental damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation, as post-mint damage generally reduces collector value. Many new collectors believe cleaning an old coin improves its appearance and value, but experienced numismatists strongly recommend leaving coins exactly as they are found. Cleaning removes the original mint surface, creates microscopic scratches, and permanently changes the coin's appearance. Original luster, natural tunning, and untouched surfaces are generally preferred because they preserve authenticity and historical character. An uncleaned coin with honest age is almost always more desirable than one that has been polished. The greatest lesson of the 1967 Washington quarter is that successful coin collecting is built on knowledge, patience, careful observation, and respect for history rather than unrealistic expectations. Most 1967 quarters remain ordinary circulation coins, but exceptional certified high-grade examples and genuine mint-era pieces continue to receive strong collector attention. Every surviving coin represents an important chapter in American monetary history, reflecting the period when the United States Mint adapted to changing economic conditions while continuing to supply the nation with circulating coinage. Whether you discover a 1967 Washington quarter in an inherited collection, an old coin album, a bankroll, or a forgotten jar of change, it deserves a closer look before being spent. It may not always be rare, but it carries a fascinating story of innovation, national change, and American history. That lasting connection between history and everyday life is what makes the 1967 Washington quarter one of the most interesting modern U.S. coins for collectors today.